with your Spider ETF stock market wrap-up, and this wrap-up is for the evening of Monday, the first day of the quarter, July 1st, 2024. Interesting day today. President Trump had a major victory. Any way you want to cut it, it's a major victory. It doesn't mean he still can't be tried on a few things, but what the Supreme Court said is official acts for a sitting president are basically immunity-free. That simple. All right, what's an official act becomes the question, all right? They made it clear that his call to Mike Spence, his vice president, to not sign the document was still an official act. Pretty interesting. He made it clear, the court, that at least the contacting of the Supreme Court to overturn the election, whatever his complaints were an official act. So now it comes down to what wasn't official. What about him not calling the police out? What about him talking to his crowds and possibly inciting a riot that ended up on the doorstep of the House of Representatives and so on? Okay, now we find out about that. But here's what it means in practicality. It's got to go back to the court system as I understand it. I'm not a legal scholar, I'm telling you as I understand it. And each of the remaining charges that are clearly a cusp number, was it official or a private citizen acting, those have to be reviewed by the court. That's going to be taking a long time. Can you imagine the amount of time that's going to take for the, number one, the judge to go through everything, let alone the presentations that are going to be made, because now you've got a new standard you have to meet. I say that this will not happen during the rest of the campaign for the presidency. So it's a major win in that sense for President Trump. And obviously he won the debate. I mean, that's hands down. You can say, oh, his facts were all wrong, he was lying and all that. Okay, but look at Joe Biden's performance, and people will say, as I do, what I care about is that call at 2, 3 in the morning that the world's burning. Is from what I saw, that isn't the man that I would trust. End of discussion. That's where I go. I believe age, and I'm not young anymore, age is a point where you back off and this becomes a younger person's game. And permanent politicians never give up power. That's the problem. And you can't get away from it. Career politicians, permanent, whatever you want to call it. All right. Before we get into the rest of what we've got to talk about, because there's a lot on the agenda to just talk about, I want to remind you that I said I'd have the July 4th sale. It's kicked off right now. 35% off any of my courses or one-year research. It's at iraepstein.com under courses or research. Now, when you see it, you'll see that the regular price is there. As soon as you click on it to buy it, what happens is the discount shows up right in it, and away you go. On the courses, you buy them now, you start them when you tell us. So there's an activation letter you get, and when you decide to start the course, you can click that or call us. We will then activate it. So everything works in that way. We make it easy. But you'll notice I started off with 50% sales, then 40. They're dropping. Take advantage. You can bank this. It's probably a good idea. So in the news, as you know, Boeing had a great piece of news because and that's what I think started the stock market up in some of the areas today. Boeing over the weekend was given a piece of news by the Department of Justice that I wrote pretty detailed on Sunday night and today. And what I said was so simple. You've got roughly 170,000 people that work at Boeing, subcontractors, whatever you want to put the numbers together. And to give a $25 billion fine to them, who knows how many jobs would be lost, where you're going, so on and so forth. And in an election year, it's probably the last thing in a tight race that President Biden needed or the Department of Justice wanted to cause. So they made a proposal, and it's a pretty easy one, basically a $500 million fine. 3 years of guidance, and you're done. Why would you even consider going to court? Okay, there's nothing to win here. The cost alone of litigating it and the risk makes no sense. If I were on the board, I'd go, are you crazy? You're going to fight this? But That's just me. So the market jumped. Spirit was also bought, the manufacturer of plane parts, by Boeing for 4.7. It gets a little complicated because Airbus gets involved in a way with that as well. So that was the good news to start everything off, and I found that just fascinating. Now, we have news all week long, a lot of jobs data all week long. We get the Red Book retail sales numbers coming out at 7:55. They're backing off. For a minute there were at 6%, now they're 5.5%. I think they're going to continue to slip. But the big report is JOLTS data. And this is going to be how many job offerings are there going to be for the month of May. Remember, it goes back, I believe, 2 months. So it was down, and the word is down, to just over 8 million. You crack that number and it's going to get people saying, look at that, the jobs market is weakening, the employers don't want to hire. We're seeing that the jobless claims have been rising, and it'll give pause to people to say the rate cut, the rate cut, the rate cut. In that vein, drop down here, because tomorrow morning Fed Chair Powell will be in Sintra, Portugal, at the European Central Bank Forum on central banking with Ms. Lagarde and other central bankers, and the questions are bound to come up. So we're all going to be listening to what it is. It's going to be interesting. I believe it's in the morning. And the API numbers are going to come out tomorrow at 3:30 in the afternoon. Now, you saw that energy prices today moved up. One of the reasons is that Israel is now shifting out of Rafah parts of the soldiers, going back to some of the areas that it had already leveled, and where Hamas is regrouping to a degree. Missiles were fired at them from those areas, so they'll go in and they'll level it again. Then they're moving soldiers in a big fashion, as I'm reading, onto the border with Lebanon. So it appears that more is going to start taking place, not less. The Biden administration has not been able to put this deal together. Israel flatly refuses to agree to any deal where Hamas stays, if you will, in the government and or as an organization within Gaza. Their problem for Israel is you can't stop it. They can damage it. They can severely hurt Hamas as they're doing, but how do you kill an idea? And that isn't going to happen. And unfortunately, the pier is no more. They're claiming the bad weather, they've got to remove it again. It's not coming back, in my opinion, not while this war rages. The UN won't take the goods that have come off of it and distribute it because people can get killed in doing so. So you've got all these perishables, I'm assuming, or canned goods, I'm hoping, medicine and so on, not being passed around according to the news reports. Everything's a mess, and the people are in the heat, starving, famine, name it. It's a terrible, terrible event. Over the weekend, I did some reading. I went back reading about the Crusades and what led up to it. History Channel's also having some specials on it. It's just where religion like this gets involved, everybody wants to conquer this part of the world. And then you get the factions of it fighting, and it just doesn't go away forever. And I have a feeling as long as there's faith, it will continue that way, because history shows it to be that way. It's terrible, terrible, terrible. Can't say it enough times. All right. I'm staying with RSP, but I'm going to ask you, write me now into YouTube what you would like me to cover for this weekend. Remember, we're not open on Thursday, so I figured, what the heck? I might as well ask you now. I'll finish up through Wednesday, see what you want, and maybe even Friday I'll put up the new one, and then I can match that up on the weekend with the weekly chart. So let's see what you come up with. And remember, if I choose the one you give me, and I go in the order of people giving it to me as to what they are there, I will give you a free either subscription and or one of my courses. So take it. You can give it away as a gift. Do whatever you want. You let me know. When you look at RSP, the one thing that's evident to me on the equal weight ETF of the S&P is while we have those 7-8 stocks, those tech names picking everything up and moving the indices higher, it's not the case when you go to equal weight. And if anything, this chart's looking quite heavy, as though if it starts breaking through this area, where are you going next? Maybe under the 160 area down here. With today's action, you confirmed lower highs, lower lows, back into bearish action. This is all now put the market underneath the combination of the 18 and the 100-day average. So the resistance on the way back up are those two averages. The support on the way down is the Bollinger Band, and with tonight's close, what you ended up doing with that band is you're now under it. Now you can be under it up to 5 days in a row before you're excessive. But is this going to be a breakout to the downside? I've got to have you thinking about that. All right? Until you get back over this high, I'm not saying that I would tell clients to sell underneath a Bollinger Band new positions, but the chart looks bearish, and momentum-wise, you are oversold. So caution, yes. Do I think right here can be an important move? It could be. I think you've got to pay attention to this past Friday's high in the market, and keep that in the back of your mind. When you look at the dividend equity ETF, and I'm going to get rid of this week, so we'll be moving RSP to this position. It's now got lower highs, but higher lows. So you don't have a market that's doing any trend at all. Nike, we saw the huge washout that happened, and you're getting a bounce in the market, but this was just a complete breakout of a downside action, caught the market totally off guard. I mean, just an unbelievable set of circumstances. Here you are down 20%. I mean, just think about that in one day for that market, and you're getting a little bit of a bounce. Rivian. So I like what Rivian and the other automakers have going for them. I'd certainly like to see how far down in this you can break back. Do I like it from the long side? Absolutely, for a long-term hold. I thought it was too high when it hit the 200-day average. I said it here. I thought it would get back under the Bollinger Band. You've done it. And now the big question is, okay, where's the support and where's the spot to come in? And I don't have it figured out. In FCX, Freeport, it was a bear market rally into the 18-day average. You had the higher lows, higher highs, and that's what you call a short covering rally. But this market hasn't ended its bear play just yet. Did you have an outside day to the downside today? Because I always look for those. You had 48.34 as your low, and you made a lower low and a higher high. So unless you take out, in fact, that's how I'd look at the market, until you take out today's high, the odds still favor you're coming back here. Take that out, you capture the bears on this phase, and you might go right back to the 51.20 area saying the worst is over. In the home builders, still getting hit. It did not help to see the 10-year notes gallop to the upside today and go back into the 445 area. Wow. So you added back an awful lot in the marketplace. As soon as the market got the word that the Trump organization is in full swing back into the election off the Supreme Court ruling, you just got hit and kept getting hit. Now we have everybody gonna just do what? Spend. Trump's told you he's cutting taxes. Right? That is what he said. He's told you he's putting on tariffs and that the economy will improve and the tariffs will pay for the tax cut. Well, we'll see. It's strange math. I don't get it, but strange math. It worked last time, but maybe we were at a different place. Lower highs, lower lows in the home builders. I don't think today helped them in any manner. And again, you're oversold and under the Bollinger Band. Not the ideal spot to start saying, oh, I'm going to get bearish here. By the way, there's no reason to be a buyer. You're caught in sideways action in the financial services. I think today they were going, what does this mean for us? Which way does this go? And they probably said, you know, let's see what the JOLTS number and on Friday the U.S. jobs report number looks like. And they'll get other reports. I think ADP's during the week too. XLI, lower highs, lower lows, trying to break out to the downside. I mean, as I look at everything to do with industrial or manufacturing sectors, it's terrible. They're not acting good. The only number today that came out favorable on one of the reports was new orders were up, but everything else just doesn't look good to me. In the energy sector, no, you're back into the resistance of the upper band, the 100-day average. You're overbought, but in an uptrend. Again, the market's looking at the pricing of oil, and this affects this XLE because the companies keep making more and more money as this keeps going up. Gold doesn't know what to do. It is basically stuck at the 18-day average of closes. The silver market is void of a trend. You have a higher high and a lower low. Copper, I can tell you today was, I thought, the day that you probed the short side of copper with very, very little risk. And if the market lost the embedded reading on the futures, you had to be out. And it did that, by the way. And from where we were telling people to look at it, it was 50, 60-point risks, which is nothing in copper. And you're sitting here. Is this market going to let go to the downside, or what's it going to do? You've got the swing line trend up, the bias right here. If you get back underneath the lows of Friday, you got a problem in this market. So that's going to be important. You may not agree with my take on what I told you on interest rates, but the market certainly did. Kaboom. I believe this is, again, all from the Trump, the verdict. The market was under some pressure, knowing we're going into a jobs number that could be 190,000, but it just seemed to cement its future. In the dollar index, they're trying to take away the embedded reading. They're not succeeding. Until you lose the red line under 79, I'm contending that the pros are buying these breaks, looking for that upper Bollinger Band right now. And in the euro, now you can't be short, you're just in an oversold area. It's finished off its rally. This was a bear market rally into the 18-day average. I'm not convinced it has to go anywhere. And obviously, things we hear at the forum in the morning could be important because you got so many central bankers talking to each other there. Can't wait to see it. It'll be televised, by the way, so you might want to pick up on that. I'm Ira Epstein, reminding you one last time here that if you're interested in our sale, 35% off any of the courses or research, iraepstein.com. You'll see courses and research at the top. Again, choose what you want. Remember, the courses start when you tell us to start them. I'm Ira. You take care.